Do you want the position or just?
Yeah, for here we'll just skip to the middle game position, most relevant card games. Okay, so here is a critical point in the game. And one way to recognize that is by looking at what advantages each side has. Now, what are some advantages that black has? The horse? More specific, maybe?
The bishop keeps the, well, it doesn't permit the rock on the king's side.
Yeah, so the bishop on c5 prevents white from castling, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty significant because if your king's stuck in the center, it's going to be hard to call your position safe, right? Okay, what else does black have going for him? Or is that it?
Yes, an active rook would debatably once he gets the pawns out.
True. Black's rook is active.
He's already castled while white hasn't.
Yeah, black's king is pretty safe, right? And I can't even conceive of a way white would attack here. Yeah, more generally speaking, black just has better development, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has both his knights out, an active bishop, a rook. White only has bishop, a knight, and maybe queen, right? So black's ahead in development, right? But black does have a problem in that white has more space in the center, and black's life-squared bishop doesn't have a bright future. You know, for example, if white's move right now, then bishop g5 would be really strong, because now white's life-squared bishop is operating well on that diagonal. So white, you could say, has some static advantage in the pawn structure, but black has some dynamic advantages in terms of his increased development and the fact that white can't even castle. So when you have this kind of dynamic advantage, you really have to strike while you have it, because if you wait too long, it'll disappear and evaporate. So here, you got to think of some critical moves here. So given that your advantage is development, you want to open the center, right? Because if it's closed, then an advantage in development is not very significant. So opening the center means, hopefully, if you remove the e-pawns from the board, for example, you would just win. So try to think of a way as black to just open the center.
Take the pawn.
Take the pawn.
Take the pawn? Which one?
The e4.
On e4? Okay. So you can take on e4, and then white's going to d-take. So is a d file very useful to open?
Yes.
No, wait, no.
Now the white king is not on the d file, right? It does open the center, generally speaking, but it doesn't help get a white's king. Ideally, you really want to open up that e file. That would be awesome.
Okay,
So in order to open up the e file, what has to depart from there? A couple pawns, right?
Right.
Black's e pawn, and more importantly, white's e pawn, right? Yeah.
Bishop takes f5.
Yeah, simple chess logic, right? Just take an f5. Now, if white wants to actually win the piece, he's going to have to move his e-pawn from the e-file, right? And then what's the follow-up after bishop takes f5? White has to take it, obviously, or else he's just getting crushed. And now what? How do we be consistent in pursuing our goal?
You just push the pawn.
Yeah, push e4, right? And white's essentially done here because he can't prevent opening the e-file. If he plays d4, black takes on f3, and the rook will take on e2 next move, right?
What if he takes the pawn?
So if he takes on e4 with the pawn, then black will play rook takes,
Yeah,
and the
rook
queen
takes.
is pinned.
And then I predicted the rook.
So white has no way to keep the e-file closed, so he's lost. But this is a critical point. You know, if black didn't play bishop takes f5 there, then white's doing fine. So this just goes to emphasize you have to take advantage of the advantages you have. So I think this is pretty instructive. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, here's another good example. Boy, I think white's missing a rook on h1 actually. Yeah. Okay. So again, let's look at what advantage each side has. So what does white have going for him? Oh, it's black to move. I should have mentioned that. But let's take stock of the advantages. So what does white have going for him?
He's a bit more developed.
I mean, let's see.
Black's bishop is.
The development looks pretty even, right? If black has rook, knight, queen, and bishop, and white has queen, bishop, bishop, knight. Right? So the development is pretty
He
even.
has the ability to castle either way.
Yeah, white can castle either way. That's an element of flexibility that's nice. Does white have anything else going for him? What about the center?
He controls
Yeah.
the center. I mean, black's dark square bishop is there pretty bad. Is not really.
Yeah, it can't really find such an active diagonal.
Yeah, that's most. Yeah.
The main point here is that white controls the center much better than black. Okay. So in the long term, white has a pretty healthy position here. But black, what does he have going for him? Yeah, so the king is still in the center, right? So this is a problem for white, at least right now. It could be weak, especially since the e-file is just wide open, right? The only thing standing between white and the queen is just a bishop, right? So positionally speaking, black isn't doing too well because white controls the center so well.
Yeah, but black has.
But remember, dynamically, the center is open.
Yeah.
So do you notice anything else interesting about the placement of the white queen and the white king?
On the same diagonal.
On the same diagonal, right? Okay, well, why is that of importance?
Because you have a black bishop.
Yeah, if that c pawn mysteriously disappeared, you would suddenly have a nice pin, right?
Oh.
Okay, I'm probably starting to give the hints and waves here. So now you know that you have to play something sharp, or else you're going to be in a tough position, right? And you also know that you might want to take advantage of this queen and king being on the same diagonal. So
The queen.
how can we play here?
You can't move the knight.
The knight takes pawn.
No, but if you move the knight, the knight's the only thing keeping the queen from beating the bishop when the bishop takes the diagonal.
So sack the
The
rook.
knight's the only thing keeping the bishop. What was that again?
So the knight is going to protect the bishop
Knight's
when the bishop
protecting
goes in for the
d4.
pin.
That's what he's saying. Knight's protecting d4.
So you can't use the knight to get rid of the pawn.
On d4?
Yes. On c3.
And taking with the rook is more forceful.
Okay. So you made an important point, actually. So if knight takes d4, white can actually just play c takes d4. Because bishop b4 now, the bishop is just unprotected. White can just take it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's an important point, right? So we can't play knight takes.
So take rook.
Right. So that kind of gives it away, right? The only other piece is a rook. Okay. So now if white plays c takes, bishop b4 wins the queen.
What if you take with the knight?
If you take
Yeah, that's the important line, right? So going back, now if knight takes instead, then what does black do?
Oh, wait.
Take it.
Take it?
Yeah, take the knight with the other.
Take the knight with the queen?
No, the other knight. His knight.
Oh, knight takes d4. Okay. So knight takes d4. So queen takes obviously loses to mate, right?
Yeah.
On e2. Now, what if white just plays c takes?
Oh,
Looks like everything you've done doing.
Bishop b4 because the queen needs to.
But
stay
isn't the
there.
bishop hanging?
No, because the queen needs to stay there.
To protect
Yeah,
d2.
exactly. Deflection. Yeah.
Boop.
Yay.
Yeah. And if white doesn't take the knight on d4, then black is also going to win that bishop on e2. So black's going to end up with a decisive advantage either way. Right? So in this case, e2 is what we would call a focal point. It means it's kind of important, right? So because it's a mating square next to the king, right? If the king were castled on the king side, then all this tactics against e2 wouldn't be working. So just something that chess players might say, and so you'll understand what we're talking about. Usually focal points are next to the king somewhere. Okay? It's like a thematic idea to attack a certain square or something. Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next one. If you have any questions or like wondering why a certain tactic doesn't work, just interject. Okay.
You'll have to tell me where to stop here. This starts as a Joko piano, by the way, which is a pretty quiet opening typically.
Okay, yeah, this was a sinus game.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really old game. Wasn't this played in like
1895,
Yeah,
1896.
1895.
Yeah.
Maybe the first game maybe look at other games, but in the 19th century.
I think maybe it bears explanation from about this point forward.
Oh, for white's play?
Yeah. I mean, because here's where it's really important for white to start trading off a lot of pieces to prevent castling, right?
Right. Well, Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what to comment here. Like, this is
Okay.
basically just like opening theory, I guess.
Yeah. But what you're going to see here is you're going to see white initiate a series of exchanges. Takes, 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 takes with knight. And now all of a sudden, it becomes quite difficult for black to castle. So what you're going to see is this f pawn come up so that black can maybe castle, fake pseudo castle on f7 to get his rooks developed.
By the way, if you're wondering about the opening, black actually didn't do anything wrong. So this is all okay for black. But he makes one mistake, which is the thing critical. And one mistake when your king's in the position in the center of the board is usually enough, right? So continuing on here. All right, so actually c6 was black's first mistake. So black needed to play king f7, getting the king immediately off that e file, and instead of c6, yeah.
Oh wait, king f7 you said. Oops. Instead of
And that's about equal. So white did not just have some brilliancy originate from move 1, basically. Black is doing okay, but c6 is a mistake. And actually, instead of going into king f7, after c6, let's take off the position here. So what does black have going for him? His king's stuck in the center, yeah, but what's good about his position?
He controls the 5 line,
He controls the what?
like the center, part of the center.
I don't know if I'd necessarily say that. I
You're
mean,
talking about this row.
Yeah.
His pawns are off.
the fifth rank?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean with pawns on c6 and f6?
Basically, the white knight can't move up.
Oh, okay. So the white knight is restricted. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so his pawns are connected.
Yeah, so black's pawn structure is better. Like specifically, he has 2 pawn islands as opposed to white's 3, right? White has an isolated pawn on d4. So in the long term, the pawn structure actually is not really favorable for white. Okay. So black's not castled, so that's kind of the end of black's advantage, right? But it's pretty decent. Pawn structure is not bad. Now what about white? What's he have going for?
Pressure
on the
over queen rook on.
Yeah, the white's king is safer. White has pieces doubled on the e file, right? And also all of white's pieces are playing basically, maybe except the knight, right? But all the other pieces are already developed and active. So in this kind of position, again, we have a situation where white has these dynamic advantages and black has these static ones. So what's the theme? You think white's going to play like h3? No? Yeah, white's going to want to crack open this position, right? But how can we do that? We already have an open e file.
Knight h4.
Knight h4? Okay, if knight h4, I think black's going to play king f7. It doesn't really open the position for white.
Knight g5.
Knight g5, I think black can just take it. I don't see a continuation after that.
And how about pawn
Stevens
d5?
push pawn.
Yeah, pawn d5.
d5? Okay, so black cannot play knight takes because can't play queen takes because of checkmate. So c takes is the only other option. So why would you sacrifice this pawn?
It isolates it and
It
opens up the knight
It actually prevents some of the queen movement.
and the rook.
Yeah, the key point is that it opens up the square for the knight. So looking at our position for white, the only piece white doesn't have participating in this attack is a knight, right? So maybe if we get that piece involved, we can do some damage. So that's exactly what he did. After the knight just hops to d4. The pressure is increasing now. Now rook c8 fails because of what? Black can't try to reduce the pressure trading rooks.
Why can't you go king f7 now?
Well, yeah, I think that's what he played, but I'm just trying to explain why rook c8 is not a good idea.
Because it's the flush.
Yeah, white can just take the rook, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he can't take with the knight because his pin, he can't take with the queen because his mate. So white can't exactly trade the pieces yet. So he played king.
Between going to d4 and then going to h4. I mean, you're trying to get.
So when you go to h4, where's the knight going to go? It can't go to f5 or g6, right?
We can go to F5. Or if it
Well, for example, after knight h4, black plays king f7.
yeah.
The knight's kind of stuck out in nowhere, right? Whereas from d4 has a nice juicy destination. So king f7, black's trying to get the king off of that e file. And now white puts knight at said juicy location. Where is that?
E6.
E6, exactly. Now black tries to trade off pieces. I think he plays rook c8. He's also preventing rook c7, which was a threat. Okay. And now how do we proceed? Does white just trade rooks on the c file? That kind of thing? Probably not, right? Yeah. So how do we continue the attack?
I don't understand why black king went on F7 instead of castling.
Queen h5.
Okay, so black cannot castle in this position, right? So then going backwards, if black castles kingside, then just queen takes e7. So you lose a piece.
Oh.
So black's king has to stay protecting the knight. And after knight arises, well, the king's already
So maybe white knight on c5.
Yeah.
Do not think he played this.
Knight.
Yeah, he was saying knight c5, actually.
Oh, sorry.
I think if knight c5, black's gonna play queen b6. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I mean, knight c5 was playable.
Knight doesn't just go queen h7.
C.
So you not go queen h5 check?
Dude, they
I actually don't remember what he played here. I'm trying to figure it out myself.
Queen h5.
Okay.
Queen g4.
Queen h4, okay.
Yeah, so I think if queen h5, he's going to play king g8.
Je suis pas
And
sûre.
the king lands in some version of safety there.
Oh, okay. So queen g, okay.
Yeah, so with queen g4, he's attacking g7.
G7 for me.
And now black can't defend it with a move like knight g6, because what?
Because then he checks with the knight. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Discovery on the queen, right?
Discovery.
Yeah, whenever your queen is undefended and your opponent sets up an x-ray like that, you should definitely be very careful about that. If it just moves away, it'll be taken. So knight g6 is not a good idea. So I think black played g6 here,
You did.
right? And now how do we continue from here?
Knight c7.
Well, knight c7, the queen mains.
Well,
Queen
No,
is-
you still go knight g5, right?
Yeah.
G5
I
check.
don't think-
Why don't you go knight g5?
What's
Okay, so if knight g5, black goes king e8.
Then we take the queen.
No, because it
No,
goes.
well, you don't want to trade queens.
Oh, g8. I'm sorry. I heard you. E8. Sorry.
If you see the continuation after king e8, I'll be very impressed.
This game surprised
Well, you
me.
can check after the king.
Wait, okay.
You're saying knight g5, king e8. You're saying trade on d7.
No, knight g7 check. That's what Max was saying.
Well, the knight's on g5.
G7 is
Oh,
not
yeah, it's on
check.
g5. Wait, so
Checking with the rook.
oh, the rook on c8.
Yeah, it's important that you find white's continuation here because in an actual game, if you play knight g5, you're dedicating yourself, right?
Queen to b4.
Queen b4. I think black can play rook takes c1 followed by taking the knight on e6.
Yeah, with the queen. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, this is definitely a critical situation. If white's initiative fizzles out, then he's going to be down 4. You guys want a hint?
Oh, never.
Never? All right, I'll give you a hint despite your resistance. Okay. So this X-ray on this diagonal, this H3 C8 diagonal, it's going to be pretty relevant, and not just because of the queen. There's also another piece on that diagonal.
Wait, so
If you notice, white already has one attack on C8,
right.
and after knight G5, king E8, then the knight doesn't actually defend the rook on C8. So that's
Si
an
je fais ça,
important
c'est
piece.
checkmate.
Oh. Okay, so you need to. Okay, he's about the knight now.
Knight there, and then rook takes knight.
On E7? Okay.
And then,
So why can't he just play queen?
because then you go rook takes C8 check, and then
Right. You take twice, right? Rook
king
takes.
takes.
Yeah, exactly. So after you play rook e7, then black has to take with the king. Right.
And so you take no.
So that's how do you follow up from there?
Rook takes c8, then rook a takes c8, then queen takes c8, right? Wait,
Well, so king takes is then.
I'm a little behind here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
So the
we're
variation.
looking at knight g5,
Okay.
Knight g5.
king e8, and now
Well,
rook
this-
e7.
This actually happened, so we can go that far.
Yeah, we.
And then I'm sorry. Then
rook takes e7.
okay.
Right.
I think that happened too, did it not?
Yeah.
It did.
So queen has to take, right?
So queen takes is bad because of rook c8, queen c8.
Yeah. Okay, that was the question. Okay, so
So
Yes,
black
take
has
with king.
well, assume black takes with the king.
okay, if black takes with king, then
Why is king takes not a good idea?
okay, so it's guys, it's stop speaking about mine. Mine's right here. This one. Okay.
So if king takes e7, what happens?
Okay. Let's see.
I'll give you a hint. So it's pretty relevant that the only piece defending the black queen is the black king. So try to push that black king away.
Stop.
Rook E1.
Yeah, rook e1, right? So if he can't play the king to the king side because he loses the queen, but if he plays like king d8, then what happens?
Then he just brings the knight to e6.
Yeah, knight e6, king e7, and then you have a couple moves that win into that.
Knight C5.
Yeah, knight c5, bringing the queen, right? On d7. Knight f8 also works, but knight c5 is pretty devastating. So black actually loses both taking the rook with the queen and the king, but he has a clever solution. If you notice, if it were black's move here, it'd be checkmate on c1.
Right, I have that one.
So he plays king f8. Pretty clever, right? So now it looks like white's the one in trouble, right?
Sure.
White's queen is hanging
Sure.
and checkmate is threatened.
But this is William Steinitz.
Let's see.
You check
Boys.
with the knight.
Boys,
Maybe knight on h something.
stop playing.
H7.
So now if knight h7, black can actually take the rook.
Oh.
Rook F7 check.
Yeah, rook f7, right? So again, the rook is immune from capture because if queen takes f7, then rook c8, right? And king takes loses. Now king e8 loses just maybe one, right? So now king g8 is the only move. What's next?
Taking the queen.
No.
Take the queen is checkmate.
Yeah.
Taking the rook.
If you take the rook, then just rook takes c8, right?
Why don't you take
I don't think he has
queen with the rook?
Why not h3?
Check.
No,
Checkmate.
I don't want to shoot.
No.
Because then they check.
Well, no, why can't you just h3 or something like that?
Well, then
h3?
To free up your king so that, well,
Oh, if white plays h3, then rook c1, followed by queen takes g4, followed by f takes g5, and you're down a rook.
oh, okay. Let's see.
Adam?
Rook G7.
Very cool.
Rook G7 indeed.
So again, the rook is immune because if queen takes, the same move, rook c8, and if king takes, we take queen on d7 with check. So I don't know if did he resign yet. I think he played king h8 first.
He plays King H8 first.
Yeah. So king h8. And now what do we do?
take the pawn.
Why not keep going, right? Yeah, rook
That's
h7.
exactly right.
And I think here is where he resigned.
He resigns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I say resigns, apparently he just walks out of the room because he was so embarrassed. Didn't want to give Steinitz the pleasure of winning this position.
Wow.
Now the point is that after after king g8,
You go rook h8 and then
I don't think rook h8. I think you don't want to play rook h8 here. There's actually an important feature of the h pawn being missing. That's important.
Or you can move the queen.
What's that?
Like move the rook.
So rook g7 back, right?
Yeah.
King h8.
And you move the queen.
Right, you play queen h4 now. And the finish comes after king takes g7, queen h7, king f8, queen h8, king e7, queen g7, right? King, well, he can play king d6, but that loses to queen f6. So king e8. Now queen g8, king e7, queen f7, king d8, and what's the finish here?
Queen f6.
No, it's
f8.
Oh,
Is that
queen f8 and then a knight.
Yeah, that's it. Queen f8, queen e8's forced. And now what's the finish?
Knight.
Kind of a fun mate.
No, not, well,
Yeah, kind of gave it away, right? Yeah.
Here?
yeah, there.
No, f7 is the correct.
F7 is
Because after king d7, we have queen d6 mate finally.
No, there.
Kind of a fun finish, right? All from just a seemingly innocuous position, right? Looking, nothing was going on. Then white plays d5, and after a series of forcing moves, wins, right? Pretty cool. This doesn't very often happen, but sometimes it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole check on the 7th rank thing with the rook immune to capture, that was just really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty awesome if you get this in one of your games. So that, you know.
Yeah. You're looking at it as black and you're like, I've got mate in 1, I've got mate in 1, I've got mate now.
It just
I
check
don't, I'm
after
getting
check.
mated in 15.
Yeah.
No. Okay. All right, so.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool attack because it looks like a pretty tame middle game. The e-file is open, and that's pretty interesting, but other than that, there's a lot of pieces traded off.
And
All right.
so
Yeah, the opening is really worthwhile.
yeah, it's a weird. I don't think that's this. I was looking at this and I'm like, this isn't played anymore.
Yeah, the black's opening is not very good here.
Yeah, people
This
just.
pawn structure is kind of poor. It's not
Oh, well, this was kind of neat. It was kind of like I'm just gonna ignore it. You just have my pawns, kind of a Danish gambit sort of thing.
All right, this is the key point.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so it takes stock of the position here. White's down some material, right? Well, obviously white's trying to get some attack. So can white just play moves like rook e1 here, continue the attack?
I feel like this better.
Good. Good.
No.
You feel like what
Why-
would be?
Is it only because I suggested it that you think there's
It's a trap.
That's, it also, it takes, the one thing to move for Judge's touch.
What's that?
In fact, there's probably something that acts faster.
Okay, what makes your chess senses go off and say something's wrong here?
Because it seems too,
The
it's too,
black pawn in
it's the logical
b7 is
choice.
like really close, and the queen.
Black pawn on b7?
You don't want to
Yeah,
keep the
black
castle.
pawn on
You
b7.
want to keep it.
B7. It's just stopped by the. Wait, yeah.
What's the relevance of the pawn on b7?
The black pawn. No, b2. Sorry.
Oh, b2. Okay. What about the pawn?
Because the black queen can go in a2 and threaten the rook.
Well, here actually the black pawn on b2 is not really a big concern for white, right? It's not going to promote. It's protected. That queen is square protected by 4 different pieces. So I don't think white's too concerned about that. What white has to be concerned about though is a long-term material disadvantage, right? He's down at the moment 3 pawns, but probably going to be 2, right? But what does white have going for him?
Black king isn't castled.
Yeah, black king isn't castled, and what else?
No development. Or not long.
Yeah, just development, right? Black has all of 2 pieces developed, right? Queen and bishop. Whereas white has 3 pieces and an open e-file he can use. So, again, we have a situation where long term it's not looking good, but white has these dynamic advantages. So when you have this dynamic position, you want to, what, open it up, right? So what can we do? Here the e-file is open, but if we play rook e1, black just runs castles, right?
19 step.
Yeah, knight takes f7. That stops black. Well, technically black can castle, although white's just going to take the bishop then, right? But if black doesn't want to lose material, he's going to have to take the knight. And now white's opening up some diagonals. And now how do we continue from here?
F3.
Queen f3 is not what he did. You know, that's probably also good though, quite frankly. Yeah, that doesn't look like a whole lot of fun for black either, actually.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you have the ability to run over here, maybe?
No,
No.
there's
Oh, there's a bishop
You
there.
can only go back or to E6,
Yeah.
in which case.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, Queen f3 is actually pretty strong too. I think
Yeah.
a move like King g8 force, and then you play Rook e1, and I don't see much of a.
Why would you take the
I don't see
What
much
else
of a
could he
defense.
do?
If you either take the knight or lose the bishop.
Well, yeah, in the game he played Queen h5, but it does look like Queen f3 is also probably winning. Yeah. I guess this is more forcing because here, King g8, you're just losing to Queen e8. So g6 is pretty much forced to stop that queen from coming in. But now after g6, how does white continue to? Yeah, pawn's not actually defended, right? The rook's hanging. Although he has to take the bishop too because moves like King g7 lose to Queen h6 and Bishop f6. It's pretty devastating, right? So he has to take it. And now white takes the rook. And I think this is, well, he didn't resign yet. White has to make that
Not yet.
touch. Yeah, he played Bishop f5, I think.
Don't you just go Queen to F6?
Yeah, Queen f6, right? Grind up the bishop on
Well, he
d6.
doesn't play Queen f6 first. He plays Rook e1 first.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah, he takes his time. Because now he's also got, well, I guess it could be a threat. And this could be a threat.
But now he's threatening mate, right? Queen f6, Rook e8, and then Rook h8. Or Queen h8, whichever it may be. And if the knight moves, you just take the rook on a8. So I'm not sure how he decided to choose his death here. Okay, he tried to block.
Yeah, he tried to interpose a piece. And that didn't work.
Yeah. The light squares are too weak.
Now we have this move.
Yeah.
And this is actually a resignation.
I don't see why he moved the rook. I don't see what that is.
You mean rook takes e4?
No, to
Here.
What is that mean?
Why he didn't just go
Oh,
directly
so
to
rook
f6.
rook e1 threatens checkmate, right? Queen f6. So say for example, black plays like, just for example, Queen c7. Then we have Queen f6, followed by King g8, Rook e8, and black gets mated on h8. You know, technically Bishop f8 is best, but he gets mated regardless. Right? So that's the mate that white's threatening. So that's why black played Bishop e4, to try to plug up that e file so white can play Rook e8.
Is there no mates without that?
Is there no mate
I feel
without?
like there would be one even without the rook.
Oh, for white?
You mean from this continuation?
You mean instead of Rook e1?
I mean, without even moving the rooks. You
Oh, well-
just never could go for it.
Well, without the rook, you just have two pieces. It's probably not going to be checkmate. No, white probably wins by Queen f6, take d6, but it's far less clear.
You're saying a direct Queen f6 right now.
Yeah. And where do you go? He goes
Go
to.
back.
Well, Queen f6, he's going to play King g8, I think.
Yeah.
Then you can take.
That doesn't look as clear to me.
No.
Yeah, now if you take on the bishop on d6, he takes on d1.
Yeah.
Where's the checkmate at the last position?
You mean after Rook e1?
Or yeah, after the rook and then the bishop and then the rook takes.
Okay, so d takes Queen f6. So now if he plays, for example, well, let's look at King e8. Then what do you think white's going to do?
Queen h8.
Well, if Queen h8, he plays King d7.
Queen. No, never mind.
Queen e6.
Yeah, Queen e6. You want to keep the black king on the king side if you can. Now King f8's the only move that doesn't lead to mate immediately. And now you can take his bishop with check on d6. And,
There was mate on bishop h2.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's way simpler. Yeah, checkmate in one. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
The computer suggested it.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay. So what about if the king goes g8?
Yeah. So King g8.
Take on.
Bishop H6.
I think bishop h6 can be defended by queen c7.
Yeah. I don't know if bishop h6 is so clear.
You maybe have this.
No, but then you take the pawn.
Well, why not just take the pawn now?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No.
So queen takes. Now king h8 is mated by bishop f6. So king f8.
And I take.
Okay. If you take bishop, then say king f7.
But then you just go next to your bishop on f6.
Yeah, queen f6. King e8 loses the mate, right? So king g8 is the only move. Now what?
Queen e7. Wait, no, queen e6.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out queen e6. I think that wins.
Yeah.
Queen e6 and
King
bishop
f8 and then bishop h6.
h6.
Although queen e6, king h7. Oh, it looks like white's cleaning up anyway. Yeah, I don't know if white actually has a mate here.
But go to queen e6.
Queen
And then
e6.
where would the king
King
go?
h7.
Queen f7.
Oh, okay, I guess, yes. Queen f7 mates. Okay. Because queen f7, king h8 is the only move, and then bishop f6 is the mate.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, bishop
No,
f6.
f6.
Bishop f6.
H6 is not. Yeah.
Yep.
It's made for one. But
Okay, yeah, so it looks like queen and bishop against the lone king is just too much for black to handle there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
it's not straightforward.
All right. Let's go to the last one. Now, this one was especially interesting. Now, Alyakin was black, and he was actually blindfolded for this.
White, right?
Yeah, he was white.
He is white. Yeah, this was in a blindfold simul, so he was playing several different players at once simultaneously.
You're missing a piece. There's a bishop on
Okay.
e7.
Me and my missing pieces on e7.
Black,
bishop
yeah.
on e7.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? And it's white to move.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's playing several different people blindfolded at the same time. That's hard.
I can do that.
That's hard.
Can't win them.
All right, so here's an important example of another idea of like focal points. Okay, so this is unlike other examples we've seen. Black's king is castled. Black has good development, right? So ostensibly, it doesn't really look like white has a whole lot. But black does have this weakened a1 or a2 ga diagonal because f pawns moved to f5. So here the focal points are going to be f7, e6. Whenever your opponent moves your f pawn like that, those instantly become targets. So if white can somehow get some pieces over there, it's going to be scary. But how does white do this? If we play moves like knight g5, black can defend by just calmly playing knight f8. So that's not sufficient here. Then you may notice that if you move this knight from e5, then e6 is undefended, right? Now there's one tempting
With
continue.
bishop take on f5.
Oh, wait.
If bishop f5 just
Knight
You need to
c6
get your
then
own
the
line
queen.
first.
yeah, so knight c6 is one tempting continuation.
Because bishop takes, then queen takes.
Now it is good, but it's not as crushing as white's other option. Now if knight c6, black's going to play bishop takes.
Then
knight.
queen check, right?
And yes, white does have an excellent position,
Okay, that's
and is
not
probably
pushing.
winning, but it's not crushing.
So knight g6.
I'm just
If knight g6, I think black
Or, I mean,
black has time to protect e6. Because knight g6 doesn't actually attack anything, right? He can just play bishop f8 instead.
Seven. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to think of what. I'm just trying. Okay, so because if you don't want to trade knights there because the queen then defends e6. So that's
You don't want to trade knights.
you don't want to.
Oh,
take,
on d7.
Yeah, you don't want to take d7.
Right,
because
right.
then You're
When
helping,
knight takes, queen
you're helping
takes.
the blacks position. So you don't have that many. I mean,
Knight g4.
Knight g4. Well, that's a
That's-
clever way of trying to open it up.
the only spot
Again,
left.
though, the knight doesn't attack anything, so worst case scenario, black can just play like bishop f8. So
So knight
Should
f7.
knight
I think we're-
So what's your idea with knight f7? Why can't black just take it?
Well, if black takes with the king, then
Oh, then wait.
knight g or
Knight
knight g5.
Knight G5.
So if knight f7, king takes f7, knight
And then
g5,
g5.
black has the saving king g6. You don't want to allow that.
Oh, okay. So
Knight f7 was correct. King does take.
Oh, is it
Yep.
queen? No.
you're really thinking. Okay, hold on a second. So.
Thinking of like what I can sack.
What do you want to sack, Devin?
Queen takes e6.
But how can you stack? What if black just takes?
Then
There's got to be progression here somewhere.
you go knight g5.
Check.
Yeah, it's not just check, right? It's
That's
That's
check.
mate. That's
Yeah.
mate. Oh. Okay.
Ah.
So it's not really a set.
Yep. So the queen is immune to capture, but if black plays king f8, then knight g5 is finished. No way to defend f7.
Yeah. Wow. Because yeah, you've taken away the square from the knight. Wow.
Actually, I think that's what was played, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Or was it resigned? No, it was right here. And then it,
I'm guessing he was on here.
yeah. I think he resigned here. It's mate in one. It's unavoidable, right?
Yeah. Well, he can play knight e5, but I mean, the white just takes, and it's the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a good example of focal points again.
Yeah.
And you might not have seen that f7 if you didn't think of how that f pawn and f5 weaken that diagonal.
And Devin, you were thinking of sacking it as the right idea, but you have to remember that it's not a sack if you're immune from capture.
Yeah.
It's just crushing.
Yeah.
It's just
free, right?
it's just devastating, is what it is.
Yeah, so this is this is probably the toughest example we've seen because this was unlike all the previous positions where
There's still,
white
I think,
had a
one
dynamic
step.
advantage, right?
You can also move the bishop out, and then he'd take the bishop. No. Good.
Oh, you mean bishop d5? Yeah, black can
You
delay it a
can
little
still
bit
postpone
further.
it. No, the other. Oh, you can use.
Bishop d5.
Yeah, this is a fun tactic actually. So c takes, right? Queen takes d5 then is the only move.
No.
Are we talking about this? He takes.
Yes, queen takes, right?
Yeah.
And now how does white win? You don't want to just go into an endgame.
By taking you.
If there's a
Wait.
Nope.
Well, let's see.
Check.
Oh, knight with
Knight.
knight is H7.
Yeah, knight's overloaded, right?
Yeah.
Black has to take it because otherwise it's mate. And then you win the queen on d5. So yeah, black can't avoid mate by throwing all his army against the sword, but
Well, I think he has a
They're
little
losing
mate
anyways.
for the time being.
What happens if this? Is that still mate?
well,
well, it's not mate, but it does win. Black can take the queen. Yeah.
Take the queen, bishop takes, and then the king can move the rook over and get out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a little bit tougher position. You just have to think about focal points here because I mean, all the other positions, white or the attacking side had a static disadvantage, so they were kind of pressured into attacking. So this is one of the harder ones to find when you don't necessarily have to find a tactic. So this is a pretty tough example.
So the examples that we've shown you today come from a book called The Art of Attack in Chess, and it was written, I don't know, 50 years ago, roughly?
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was.
Like in the 70s by a Russian GM named Vukovic, and it's still extremely relevant today. It's commercially available. I'm going to try to get it for the library, but it probably won't be anytime soon. But if you're looking for a good book on figuring out how to structure attacks, whether attacks are viable, also how to hold off against an attack, because you see defending ideas in there as well. Highly recommended. And aggressive chess, I was talking about this with Warren the other night, I feel that aggressive chess is extremely effective at your level because the more you can give your opponent to think about and react to in that 25 minutes on their clock, the more you can put them under pressure, right? So sometimes a sack like this can, even if it proves unsound against a computer, you can take the towel approach and see how well it'll work against making your opponent buckle.
Yeah.
Any questions about these?